Nurse entrepreneurs, one of the things that I've always wanted to do was I always wanted to help nurses work from anywhere, pretty much have the flexibility, pretty much have their freedom so that they could do whatever they wanted to do.
Joining VP Nursing was one of the best decisions that I could have ever made. If I was to have a regret, it would be that I didn't join sooner.
If they wanted to be with their children, if they wanted to be with their families, they can do exactly what they wanted to do.
Ola is the type of person, she's not going to let you stay the same. The way she levels up her clients in every area of their lives.
I could not have imagined being a nurse with my own business, being in this space with so many amazing people, with a coach that 1,000,000% cares about what my outcome is going to be.
And so here at VP Nursing, we teach nurses how to work from their computers anywhere around the world, making money, owning their own time, building profitable nurse coaching, consulting, and service-based businesses. And so now we're at the beach and we're working at the beach and we're having a great time. We're doing a brand photo shoot. It's an amazing time. So if you want to learn how to work from anywhere around the world, creating that flexibility, creating that freedom for yourself, but monetizing the knowledge that you already have, join us at VP Nursing Business Academy. Good morning. Good morning. So this morning we have Makeda. Now, me and Makeda have been in these social media streets for a minute now. So we've got Makeda. Now, before we get into the conversation with Makeda, what I want you to do is I want you to like, share, and comment on the podcast, okay? Because we want to get Makeda's story out. We want to make sure that everybody knows what Makeda's doing out in these streets, okay? Also, we want to make sure that you're telling us kind of what you like about the podcast and all of that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to introduce Miss Makeda. So Makeda, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Makeda. I'm a registered nurse. I have many hats, as they say, but I will consider myself a nursepreneur, entrepreneur, all the above. And what I would say is that not only am I a nurse, I'm a teacher, and I also started my own wellness body contouring service business back in 2020. So I'm just versatile when it comes to all of the things, everything nursing. So that's a little bit about me. I'm also a mom of a 10-year-old, soon to be 11-year-old. So so that's just a little bit about me.
And we're going to get into that. I love it. I love it. So now tell me a little bit about why did you even become a nurse in the first place? Like, what motivated you to become a nurse?
Oh, so I have a funny story about that. So I initially did
well, do tell.
I did not initially have the idea to become a nurse. I wanted to be a pediatrician. When I decided to go back to school, when I graduated high school, I was like, I'm going to be a pediatrician, all of the things. Prior to that, I went to high school. We did like a undergrad. It was like an undergrad prep program that we did, and it was like science technology entry program. So we were like doing all the things. So I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. So yeah, I went to school and I was like, I have to do all of these chemistries and I have to do all of this. I was like, I don't think this is going to work for me. So I actually had a work study job in the EOP office, Equal Opportunity Program for students. And one of the nurses, she was a nursing student at the time, she was telling me about the program, and she was like, you could still be in the medical field, because I was determined to still be in the medical field. And I was like, okay, I'll give this nursing program a try. So I scheduled an interview with the dean, and I got accepted into the program, and I was intrigued ever since. It was very tough, very challenging. However, once I became a nurse and able to work and doing those things, I was like, okay, maybe this was what God was telling me to do. So that is my spiel, which is funny because I never really ever talked about this as to why I was determined to become a nurse. So so that's how I became a nurse.
I love it. I love it. By happenstance. Listen, that's how I became a nurse too, because that was not my trajectory. Okay. But my mama was like, nah, bruh, that's not what we're gonna do. You gotta go over here. And I was like, okay, fine. Like I didn't have any real solid ambitions to go this way because I want to be an engineer. And I was like, that chemistry, not chemistry, but they had to do a lot of calculus and trigonometry and things of that nature. I was like, that seems a little hard. So maybe nursing would be the good thing. But then I got in there and I didn't even know how to, like, I didn't even know you gave Tylenol. Like I was super healthy child. My mother breastfed for an entire year. So I didn't even know you gave Tylenol for a fever. So my learning curve was large. And so it was a hot mess. But anyway, so let's talk about, you got in nursing school. You were almost through nursing school, and then you started to have some headaches.
Yes. So I had extreme like headaches in my like front of my head, side of my head, like pressure all through my face. The lights were really, really sensitive, and I was like going through the motions. So I'm thinking it's stress. I'm working, I'm in nursing school, all of the things, right? So one day I just decided, I'm like, I'm gonna go to the doctor because I just can't function. I can't study properly. It was just everything under the sun was causing me some issues. So I went to the doctor and he did a thorough assessment, which I'm so grateful for, because if he had not done that, I probably wouldn't know what I know now and experience the things that I experienced. So he did a full assessment and he touched my neck and he was like, your thyroid is enlarged. And I said, interesting. Now, mind you, I'm in nursing school, but I'm coming home tired, sleeping hours on hours, waking up still tired, not understanding. My weight was all over the place, gaining. And I just didn't know that was any correlation to the thyroid. Like, that wasn't even my thought. So when he said that, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what does that mean? And he's like, well, I'm going to send you for a biopsy. And, we're going to check to see, what's going on. So biopsy came back. Now fast forwarding to my last semester in nursing school, and I was told that I have thyroid cancer. So I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. And with that being said, my ear, nose, and throat doctor was suggesting that I get surgery immediately. And I'm like, well, I'm about to graduate nursing school. Like, how is this going to work out? So all of my thoughts, because also while I was in nursing school, I was planning, my intention was to go to the Navy. I had my recruiter. I was going to go to the Navy. I was going to do nursing, everything. I had everything planned out. Unfortunately, when we have our own plans, God makes other plans. So that has happened in more times than I can imagine. So with that being said, I was told that I had to get surgery. So I said, well, is it possible for me to wait at least until I graduate? And he said, yes. So during that process, I scheduled my surgery a month after I graduated nursing school. And it literally was, challenging because I had all of these thoughts in my head. I really didn't know what to do. I never heard of anybody having thyroid cancer. So I'm like, you're thinking the worst. I'm a college student. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen? So everything went well with the surgery. They ended up having to take everything out except for, everything, the tissues around everything were fine, but they wanted to take the complete thyroid out because I had a nodule on one side. But the pathologist was saying they didn't want to take a risk in leaving it in. So they completely removed it. So because of that, I have to take thyroid replacement medication for the rest of my life. So that was a huge challenge because in that process, I'm like, well, I'm graduating nursing school. I have to take the boards, all of these things. Because I'm like, well, if I have to recover for 6 to 8 weeks, I don't want to stress out, because they said stress can cause more issues and things like that in your recovery stage. So I'm just, going through all of the emotions that you could possibly think in your head. So in my mind, I thought it was smart to take the boards before I got my surgery. That was the wrong move. That was the wrong move because I did not passed my NCLEX the first time. And I never felt anything in my entire life, ever. So for that to happen, I thought it was the end of the world. Like, I was so sad. Like, it was just like, oh my God, maybe I'm not meant to be a nurse. Maybe all of these things were going through my head, and I just, took a break. I just said, forget it. I'm not going to take it again. Forget it. I'm not going to be a nurse. And so I did other jobs that were, similar, but I tried the office job. No, that didn't work for me. I even tried to do customer service, group home, stuff like that. That was okay. But what really kind of transitioned me into going back into my nursing, dream and kind of getting back on track with that was when I started working for a home care. It was like a home care, but community-based worker position. So I taught moms, babies, did child development. We did a lactation consulting, the whole nine. They trained us to be a lactation counselor. So that was something that I did. And in the process, I had my son. So I tried to reattempt.
But you wait a minute. Now, because you done gone too far. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to address this one issue right here. Okay. You got cancer. Okay.
Yes.
Now my thoughts is I need for you to take this out as soon as possible. Okay. But you were like, oh, we were just waiting until after, a month after school and we'll be all right. That's number one. Now, what I think when I think about that is I think you had this resilience that I'm going to beat this and we're going to be okay. And I'm going to go ahead and make this decision to get it out at this time. Then you came out and you wanted to take the boards and then you didn't pass the boards. And, and I think that a lot of people, they have all these thoughts in their head. Like you said, right? Is nursing really meant for me? Should I do this? And the reality is that when things happen to you, and a lot of people say that it is God, this things happens to you, and I never believe that. I think that it's the devil that whenever bad things happens to you. And does God allow it because he's sovereign? Yes, he does. However, he knew that you had that resilience in order to be able to get through that. But when you start working with them children and the mamas, okay, you previously were diagnosed with PCOS. Now tell the people what PCOS is.
Yes. Oh, yeah. PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. So, oh yeah, it's like so many tangents of this story of mine that like tidbits of things that all happen very similar timing. So I was diagnosed with PCOS. I actually need to backtrack. So I was actually diagnosed with PCOS before I found out I had thyroid cancer. So I was diagnosed with that. I had no idea what that was. My periods were just like irregular. So you have irregular periods. Your mood is all over the place. Hormone imbalances. I could be hot, cold 1 minute, and I go through this, they say you can go through premenopause, but it's similar to those feelings where I could be like a flush of hot and then I could be freezing the next second. So again, not being educated, not knowing what it was, the doctor told me in order for me to have a child, I had to be on fertility medication. So I'm 22, like 21, 22, and I'm like, what do you mean? You can have a lot of miscarriages and it's the so on and so forth. Like your periods are all over the place. It's just so many things. So while I'm going through all of these changes, I'm thinking everything is fine. I'm just like, this is just the stress of being a nurse and nursing student. So yeah, it's like on top of that, and I still was like, okay, I need to graduate. Like that was my determination. Like I had to graduate nursing school. I went through the wire, going through all of these trials and tribulations with clinicals and a bunch of other things while still working. I had like 2 part-time jobs in a a study. What is it? A school. It was like a school job.
Gotcha.
So
So
I
I
worked
ain't,
there.
I ain't never had no school job. So you go ahead.
So I did all of those things on top of having all of this going on. So, fast forward during, that whole process of once I received my, surgery and didn't pass my NCLEX, I did have a child and I didn't have to go through fertility medication. I just lost weight on a whim of needing to lose weight. I was working with one of my coworkers at the community place, and she was like, "Oh, let's start walking." We were out in the community all the time anyway, doing outreach, and so she was telling me what she was doing, and I just started working out, and I lost like 45 pounds. So when I got pregnant with my son, thank you.
I
When I
wish
got
I could lose a pound these days. Anyway, go ahead.
yes, especially now, oh my gosh, yes. Anything you look at food, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gaining weight. So so I was literally like in awe. Like when I found out I was pregnant, I was like in denial because in the back of my head, I was told you can't have any kids without being on medicine, and I did have a miscarriage before I got pregnant with my son. So that was also, like a thought in my mind too, am I going to be able to carry? So all of these things was going through my mind during this process of my life. And then fast forwarding to getting thyroid cancer and going to school and feeling the NCLEX. It was just so many things that was in my way that I just did feel defeated at one point. So, I fired.
But you had that resilience.
Yeah.
This is what I like about you is because it was not, I'm gonna beat this cancer. That's the reason why you had that resilience through that nursing, because at the end of the day, you're like, I'm gonna beat this cancer. And I need to get some stuff in order before I go into surgery in order to make that happen. And then you started working with the children and, I guess the pheromones got to you. Okay. And then, you started,
Yes,
you
very
started,
much
you were
so.
like,
Contagious.
you were like, I'm hanging around these women who are getting pregnant. Here we go.
Yes.
We're gonna get pregnant too. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
maybe that works. I don't know. Okay. I was
It
fertile as
worked.
myrtle, so I can't say nothing
It
about
worked
that.
very well.
So now you go back. Now, when did you got married sometime or another during this process
Yes.
afterwards?
So yes, I got married probably after my third time taking the NCLEX. So when I got married back in, oh wow, it's 2025. It's been about 2017. I got so my son was small. He was like 3. And so I got married in 2017, and my husband was very supportive of helping me pass my NCLEX. I had a routine. I was working, I would go to the gym, study, or vice versa. It was that order. That order strategically was determined. I said, I'm tired of this. Like there was so many things I was getting, like emails, text messages, the whole 9 of things showing me what nurses. We need nurses. We need nurses. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like why is this is holding me back? During the process, I did go back to school to get my master's in public health because again, I was on that fearful, I had a little bit of a fearful mindset because I was like, well, maybe I could just alter this path and go back to school where I was working. They offered, half of my tuition to go back to get my master's. And so I did. But it was still something in the back of my mind that said, I need to pursue what I started. It wasn't sitting well with me to just not complete this journey. So, during school, I still was studying for the NCLEX, the boards, and I continued to do that, and I passed.
I love it. I love it.
I
I love
passed.
it. I love it.
And I remember being at work because I was like, they have you pay for those the early test results. It was like $8. And I was like, I'm gonna pay this $8, Lord, and please let this $8 give me the pass that I need, because I've been working so hard. And when I tell you I went to the bathroom, I said, I'm going to the bathroom. And I remember it like yesterday. I seen that pass and I just was like, yes. I was in the bathroom shouting. They probably was like, what is wrong with this lady?
Listen, yeah, they done got smarter since you know, I took mine, because I took mine and they didn't charge anything for it. And so I went and I took it. Oh, it was a whole story about me getting to like 210 questions because I had a bunch of psych questions and I hate psych. So it was a whole hot mess. And I thought that I didn't pass. And my husband was like I was crying, tore out my frame, because I was like, I didn't pass this test. I didn't pass this test. And he was like, did you get the results? And I was like, well, no. And he was like, well, wait until you get the results. And so that next day I had a friend that took the test. And then after she took the test, she called the day afterwards and she got her results. And she was like, wow, Viola, I passed the test. And I was like, how you get your results so fast? And she was like, this is the number you call. And so I called the number. And so I was like, okay. I said, and then they said, Viola, RN. And I was, and so then I was screaming and I come out, and it was so funny because I was going to play date. It was my daughter and I had another nurse who was coming. She was walking in the door and my daughter was sitting on the couch, and that child couldn't have been no more than 5, 6, 7 years old. Okay. And I'm coming out and I'm screaming and I'm crying, and she's looking at me with these wide eyes. She was, and my friend was like, it's good, baby. It's good. It's good.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure we all have stories like that. So now let's talk about you got married, but then you got divorced, right? And what was your feelings around the divorce?
So I had a bunch of mixed feelings of wanting to, should I take the next, take that step of, ending my marriage. With everything that was going on, COVID was going on. I took some traveling contracts. So it was like a whole bunch of stuff going on. And, I had to shift, from being in the hospital. I had a work from home job. All of the things, that was going on. And so I contemplated for a good while before I decided that, this wasn't a place that I needed to be. And I like the name that you say, husband, because it was kind of like when you first said it, I was like, oh, I like that. Because when you have conversations and you talk, you kind of be like, well, how do I address it? Do I say ex? Do I say husband? Because at the time he was my husband, but now when you say husband, I'm like, oh, I like that. I'm gonna use that. So with that being said, it was just like a whole bunch of different emotions that I felt, and I just had to come to the determination that it wasn't for me. Like, this situation wasn't for me. It wasn't good for me mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And I had to have a conversation. The conversation didn't go well initially. But as time went on, we had came to a conversation that, we both were in agreement with, and it kind of went from there. I still had my feelings of regret and resenting in the beginning, where I didn't even talk about what I was going through for 2 years. It was a lot of things that was going on within my marriage, which, I mean, obviously is not anybody's business while you're talking about it. But, I wanted to, show some, support, because I know there's people out there who may be going through something similar. And at the time, I wanted to share my story, talk about the things that I was going through, and just kind of just share my journey. But I wasn't ready yet. At that time, I didn't want to discuss anything because I was afraid that, what people are going to think if I file divorce. We just got married not too long ago. It hasn't been a long time, and all of the things that you think about. But I will say to you today that that was one of the best decisions that I've made. I'm grateful because God has guided me in the direction that I need to go. I'm more focused on things that are meant for me. And so I feel like during that process, I prayed about a lot of things. And, God is hilarious, and sometimes we don't realize how hilarious he really is.
Facts.
Because when I'm going through my dark times and I'm praying, I'm like, Lord, please bless my marriage. Please, I don't understand why all of this is happening, blah, blah, blah. All of these things, right? I'm praying and praying and praying, and things are not getting better. And I'm just like, well, God, you said marriage is a covenant, and we're supposed to do this and we're supposed to do that. I'm trying to do everything and it's not working. Like, we're at each other's throats. It's constant, constant, constant. And now I'm looking at it like, that's why God was telling me, no, this is not for you. You need to leave. You need to remove yourself. Get to know Makeda, get to know who you are and the purpose of why you are here. What is your purpose in life? Because again, I was lost. I didn't really know. I was always so willing to help others and love on others, and be in a relationship after relationship, and wanting that, which I know most people do. But when you're not fully where you need to be emotionally, spiritually, you can't be anything for anybody else. So those were, the things that I had to go through. And I can say today that I'm very happy that God, directed me on a different path.
I love, there's so many nuggets that came out of what you just said, but one of the things, there's two nuggets that, stand out to me. Number one is that you weren't ready to talk about it when it first happened, right? And there's a book by Brene Brown, it's called The Power of Vulnerability. And in the book, she talks about until you have healed from the story, then you don't need to be telling the story on a public platform, right? And once you have healed from the story, and I think that when we go through things of this nature, one of the things that we have to understand is that, and I didn't get this at first either, is that the reason why we're going through the things that we're going through is simply because we need to help somebody else get through that thing. Once I understood that, then it was really game changing for me. But until I understood that is this story is not for me. It's just for me to walk through the fire in order to help someone else. And in the process, it builds me. And so there's so many things that, and you also talked about the fact that you can't be there for anybody else. And I remember going on, and I tell people this story all the time. I went to Louisiana and my daughter was on the plane, and I now I'm on a plane every other month. However, at that time, that was my second plane ride, and it was with my daughter, who I hated being pregnant, right? And so, once I had her, and the lady talking about putting the oxygen mask on yourself first, I was like, she done lost her mind. I'm putting the oxygen mask on this baby because it took me a long time. But until you understand that, until you put the oxygen mask on yourself, which is what you did, right? Then you really can't help anybody else. Right. You don't have the capacity to help anybody else go through that storm. So I love, love, love that. Now, tell the people what you do now, because you don't walk through all this fire. Now, this is what I love about Makeda, okay? Because Makeda don't walk through all this fire, and Makeda says, "Okay, I'm good. I'm gonna keep it moving." So tell the people what you do now.
So I am, I'm still working as a nurse. However, I do have a wellness body contouring business called Nubian Resilience Body Studio. And I sell wellness products, weight loss products, and my main focus now, because I want to help others who are having issues with weight loss, who have PCOS or any hormone imbalance, and that is what my main focus is. Men are welcome as well, but women are my primary focus, just because I know how hard it is to lose weight. So you can follow me on Facebook at the Resilient RN, and also on Instagram, Nubian_resilience. And I'm also on TikTok. So you can follow me on.
I've been calling you Resilient this whole time, and I didn't know that that's what your names were. I love it. So before we go, so we have some rapid fire questions for you, okay? But before we go, I really want to thank Tammy Lewis, because you're going to be a part of her book, her anthology. And she's the one that really, not that we weren't connected, but she really sent you the information for you to be on the podcast so that you we could get your story out there. So I love it. So I want to thank her because she has been so instrumental in my journey to become a nurse entrepreneur. And I love her dearly. So I just want to say that before we get into this. Now, are you ready for the rapid fire questions?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what has been the most rewarding thing about nursing?
The most rewarding thing about nursing for me is the versatility. I can do so many things with nursing. And if I get bored or if I want to change, I can always alter whatever it's an infamous timeline. It's like so many different things I could do.
I love it. What's the most common misconception about nursing?
Oh, now, when you talk about staff nursing, just like a nurse, not saying that we can't make money, but y'all make all this money and y'all rich and y'all just pass pills all day. Wrong.
No,
Wrong.
Right.
So
like you got to be the housekeeper, the respiratory therapist, the EKG tech, the CNA. Like, yeah.
I wish the people know, because they think everybody gets walking around with $1 million bags and you got a bag because you're a nurse. I'm like, okay.
You want to think that? Go ahead. All right. Wait until I pull out my purse. What are you reading now?
So, I actually went to a book signing with, oh goodness, Tamika Mallory.
Mm-hmm.
She came to Buffalo.
Okay.
And she wrote a book. Oh my goodness, and I can't remember the name of it. But oh, I got a brain fart. That's another thing that comes with all of this. So
listen.
But I met her. She is an activist. And she came to Buffalo. She wrote a book on her journey, her story. And it was just so I was just so intrigued by her story, her journey, and I met her, and she just has a pleasant soul. So I'm reading her book right now.
I love it. Love it. What are some of the biggest lessons that you have learned in business?
That it's okay to have failures. And I take those failures as ways to kind of pivot, ways to continue to, continue your business, but not completely quit your business. I've learned a lot of different ways to pivot and not to be ashamed of the pivot, because that was what I was ashamed of. And just never give up. Being consistent is key, because life is lifing. And I noticed for me, when life lifed, everything else will suffer. So just trying to be strategic on getting a plan in place and just trying to stick to it as much as possible. And just that this path is continuous. Like, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your business. So I just say keep pushing, because I'm keep pushing and I'm learning new things every day.
I'm glad that you said that, because a lot of times I think that nurses feel that if I fail at something, then I'm killing my business. But the reality, because you can kill patients, right, if you fail, right?
Yeah.
The reality is that you will, it's cute to succeed, it's great and wonderful, hallelujah, right? But you learn more from your failures than you do anything else. So I'm glad that you said that. Who is a leader, living or dead, that you would like to have a conversation with?
Who? I would love to have a conversation with Maya Angelou.
That's interesting. The last person that I interviewed said Maya. I love it.
Just listen. As I feel like, as I'm growing on this journey of womanhood and just being my own. I'm approaching 40 in less than 4 days.
40 it. Woohoo!
40. Well, actually 5 days. I'll be 40, and just things that I saw, and as you know, my younger years compared to now, you know, some of the things don't resonate as well as they do as you get older and actually go through things. And just listening to the things that she would say and her poems and just all of the things, I would just love to have connected with her on some level, because you know, poetry and the way the words and emotions are art. It's an art. And you know, you never really realize how artistic you can be when it comes to words and emotions and experiences. So
I
that's why.
love it. What's your favorite movie?
Oh wow, my favorite movie. I have a few. I'm like I love comedy. So I'm like I will sit there and like laugh at everything. So what one of be my favorite movies is Step Brothers.
Ah, okay.
I
Okay.
like I like that as a comedy. That's like one of my favorite.
I love it.
Yeah. So I would say that.
I love
I'm
it.
like I'm a quirky when it comes to like different movies.
Movies. How do you define success?
Oh wow. I define success as having the ability to step out of your comfort zone. Um and expressing whatever it is that you feel that is necessary to define you as a person.
What's your life motto?
My life motto is to keep going and never look back.
Love it. Now, I know that you told us where to find you before, but as an ending, tell us where to find you again.
So you can find me on Facebook at Makeda the Resilient RN, Instagram Nubian at Nubian underscore resilience, and TikTok is the Nubian Resilience Body Studio. Sorry, on TikTok.
I love it. So, go and follow Makeda. Also, I want you to like, share, comment on the video. We are still having our master classes that are going on every other Tuesday. So I encourage you to join us for our master classes. And this has been a great conversation. Thank you, Makeda, for joining us. You're amazing.
Thank
And
you
you
so much.
ladies, anytime, you ladies and gentlemen, you have an amazing rest of your day. Goodbye.